The political landscape in South Africa has once again been shaken. This time, it's Julius Malema, leader of the economic freedom fighters, who finds himself at the center of serious controversy. AfriForum, a civil rights organization known for championing the rights of Afrikaners and minorities in South Africa, has taken a bold and dramatic step. They are now officially calling for international sanctions against Malema. Yes, you heard that right. Sanctions. This includes travel bans and the freezing of his assets in foreign countries. The reason? Malema's continued chanting of the controversial slogan, "Kill the Boer," a phrase that has haunted South African politics for decades. To understand why this moment is so significant, we need to take a step back and understand the historical context. The chant "Kill the Boer" has its roots in South Africa's apartheid-era liberation struggle. Back then, it was used by those fighting against the oppressive regime, symbolizing the desire to overthrow a system that systematically abused and dehumanized the majority of South Africans. However, in today's democratic South Africa, where reconciliation and unity are supposed to be the bedrock of the nation, that chant is no longer viewed the same way. Many now see it as hate speech, a call to violence, especially against white farmers, some of whom have indeed suffered brutal attacks in recent years. AfriForum argues that chanting "Kill the Boer" in public spaces, especially by a political leader like Malema, only stirs racial tension and endangers lives. They believe it is not just reckless speech, but incitement. They say it has no place in a democratic society. Malema, on the other hand, insists that the chant is a form of political expression rooted in history. He claims it is not a literal call to kill anyone, but rather a symbolic rejection of white monopoly capital and the painful legacy of colonialism and apartheid. He accuses his critics of weaponizing the chant to silence black voices and shift focus away from ongoing economic inequalities. This tug-of-war between symbolism and perceived incitement is not new, but AfriForum's recent move takes the debate to a global level. They are actively lobbying international governments and bodies, urging them to apply pressure on Malema in the same way other controversial leaders have been targeted around the world. That means asking for visa restrictions, denying entry into certain countries, and even freezing assets linked to Malema overseas. Their goal is to send a message that hate speech, no matter who says it, should come with consequences. But is this going too far? That's the question now being asked across South Africa and beyond. On one hand, many people, particularly members of farming communities and white minorities, support AfriForum's campaign. They feel the chant normalizes violence and puts a target on their backs. They say it contributes to a hostile environment where lives are genuinely at risk. They argue that a political leader must be held to a higher standard because his words carry weight and influence. On the other hand, Malema supporters say this is a political witch hunt. They argue that Malema is being singled out because he dares to speak out against the status quo. They say the campaign against him is not really about hate speech, but about shutting down radical black voices who are demanding economic transformation and land redistribution. For them, this is not about safety, but about control, about maintaining existing power structures under the guise of defending democracy. What makes this situation even more complex is the international dimension. If countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, or members of the European Union do respond to AfriForum's calls, that would mark an unprecedented level of international intervention in South Africa's domestic political debates. Some argue that such actions would set a dangerous precedent. They say it could encourage other political groups to use foreign pressure as a tool against their opponents, rather than resolving issues through democratic dialogue and national institutions. At the same time, there are those who believe that international attention is necessary. They say that if South Africa's own legal system has failed to address what they see as dangerous rhetoric, then outside forces must step in. It's a moral obligation, they argue, to stop hate before it turns into violence. They point to rising tensions in farming communities, the murder of rural farmers, and the fragile state of race relations in the country as evidence that words like "kill the Boer" are not harmless slogans. They say they are warnings of something much darker. So where does this all lead? What happens next? The answer isn't simple. It depends on many factors. It depends on whether international leaders take AfriForum's lobbying seriously. It depends on whether civil society in South Africa, both for and against Malema, continues to push for accountability and justice. And it depends on how the public reacts. Will this moment mark a turning point where South Africa takes a firm stand on what constitutes hate speech in the modern era? Or will it be seen as yet another chapter in the long and painful story of race, land, and political power? It's also worth considering how this will affect the EFF itself. Will Malema's leadership be strengthened by this controversy, as his base rallies around him in defiance? Or will it weaken the party's standing among more moderate voters who are tired of divisive rhetoric and want solutions to poverty, unemployment, and crime? These are the kinds of questions that will shape the future of South African politics in the months to come. And finally, we must look at the bigger picture. South Africa is still a young democracy. It is still healing from the deep wounds of apartheid. Its people are still trying to build a nation where everyone feels heard, safe, and valued. That journey is far from over, and moments like this force the country to ask hard questions about its identity, its values, and its future. So, what do you think? Is AfriForum right to take this fight to the global stage? Or is Malema being unfairly targeted for expressing political views that many feel are still relevant in today's South Africa? Should freedom of speech include controversial chants from history, or should there be firm limits when safety and unity are at risk? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We want to hear your voice. Your thoughts matter. Don't forget to like this video if you found the topic important or thought-provoking. And if you want more in-depth breakdowns of South Africa's most pressing political stories, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.